But we stay on education. We're going to focus now on technical and vocational educational training in Ghana. When you think TVET, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm sure you've read or heard a report that suggests that 75% of the curricula of technical and vocational educational institutions are not fit for purpose. They are outdated. The question is, how true is this? What's the state of the TVET push in Ghana? We're going to try to get answers to all of these dynamics as we host Dr. Fred Che Asamoah, Director General of the Commission of TVET in Ghana. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Ifishapa, it's the first time we're interacting this year.
Yes.
I think it's only fitting.
Yeah.
Before we get into any conversation on TVET and all of that, I'm sure you listened a bit to Education Minister Dr. Yawase Educhum.
Let me say good morning to my Honorable Minister, Dr. Educhum, for the work he's doing in the education sector. It was exciting to listen to him this morning and to see the good things that he's doing to support the President of the Republic, to make sure that we can turn the fortunes of Ghanaians. For every nation, what you can be proud of is the human resource. You could have all the natural resources, but if you don't have a good human resource, you cannot turn the things around. Because even if computers are made by men, machines are put together by men who have what it takes to do it. So a very good morning to him, and good morning to all your viewers and listeners as well.
Some of the matters we discussed with him, though, are thorny issues, from those 8 that died on the Volta Lake, students trying to get to school, and that was their crime. And they were in the canoe and all of that, no life jackets, died. We lost 8 of them at a go. Then there was the issue, I'm sure you've also seen, Ghana's Schools of Shame, and that's one of our latest documentaries. A lot of these schools in the northern part of the country, but in different parts of the country as well, without desks, students have to carry chairs, all kinds of things. They are on the floor, bare floor, sometimes sandy. You know, who would want a child to study in such a situation? What kind of environment would that be? And then we also spoke about school placement. I just want your quick thoughts on this. You are in that sector. What is your thinking on this? Parents are paying between 8 and 20,000 cedis to change the placements of their children. Any quick reflections before we get into TVET?
My take is that no parent, I have 4 boys, and no parent will want to have their kids go to school and not come back. So I first want to express my deepest condolence to the kids that lost their life. In countries, in advanced countries, sometimes when your kids go to school, you are praying that they can come back safely. In our countries that kids will go to school and never come back because somebody decided to be crazy and shoot around. We as a developing country, unfortunately, have not been able to reach that level whereby our kids have to cross a river to go to school, where some people are living in the hinterlands, farming, and as such, they need to also have their kids go to school. Unfortunately, we've not been able to get to the level that all our kids are able to access education within the shortest distance and also with the best on quality facilities. For me and the minister also appreciate that these things have not been able to reach the level we all want. But the good news is that the ministry, the minister and government, the president is working hard to make sure we can get to the best, because every child is an asset. Every young man or young woman is an asset of this nation. It took one person to turn around Facebook and is bringing a lot of funds to the United States. Elon Musk, even though from South Africa, look at how much money he's bringing to the United States. So every single Ghanaian out of the 30-something plus million is an asset of this nation, and we value it that much, and we want to make sure that every single person is given what can make them successful. In fact, with the voucher training that government is implementing, we have 80-plus-year-olds who are going back to school to learn 2-sentence word, 3-sentence word, and be able to better themselves and even pass on the skills and the knowledge that they have. So it's quite unfortunate, but I'm happy that consistently a lot of investment is going into education. Government is pushing. We're going to turn around this country if we continue on the trajectory to improve on the facilities and the infrastructure, logistics that we want to have for education. Day in and day out, we are making sure that teachers are at the center of our reforms, so that the instructor, the facilitator, who is going to pass on skills to the learner is given what it requires. We are working to make sure leaders in the education sector are given the required skills, the leadership skills, so they can lead, not only manage, but they can lead, so we can turn around this nation. If you look at the past 7 years, what this government has been doing, the amount of investment that has gone into education is unheard of. If you had to look at the past and compare it to the present. But is it going to be perfect? Obviously, no. And we will want to talk about both the imperfect and the perfect, so that it's a comprehensive thing. It's the bigger picture. And we can look ourselves 10 years down the road and see what have we been able to do. If countries like Austria and Australia, they don't have even the sea lines that we have, and they are doing well, it's not because of the natural resources. Switzerland, it's not because they have cocoa. They don't grow a single tree of cocoa, but they're able to turn around most of these things because of the human capital they have. And His Excellency, the President, the Ministry of Education, all the agencies and the Ministry of Education believes in this, and we are working hard to make sure that we can turn around the fortunes of this country. Ghanaians are smart. I can bet you Ghanaians are smart. We have Ghanaian young men and women that are working to make the life of other countries better. Why they cannot? Government wants to make sure that education in Ghana is both vertical and horizontal. It shouldn't be straitjacket. If today you want to be a mechanic, you want to be an electrical installer, nothing should stop you from having the opportunity to do that. And that is the reform government has embarked on, to make sure that this country, Ghana, that we have, we don't have to be bringing young ones from China to be constructing our buildings for us to be the engineers. We have young ones in Ghana here that are really smart, that can do so much.
It's interesting you point to that, because just recently I saw a video of Professor Elsie Kaufman, I believe the dean of the College of, or the School of Engineering at the University of Ghana. It was a TEDx talk, and she was talking about how in Ghana we learn so much by rote. It's all about who is the one who can chew the most, put it on paper, and that's it. Those are the engineers we are creating. So we chew, pour, pass, forget. Our engineering, which is supposed to be very practical, is all on paper. So we don't get anywhere. And come to think of it, she has a very good point. You look at the University of Science and Technology, which was meant to be technology, science oriented. They are doing well, but I mean, after how many decades you would expect that maybe that would be even the fulcrum of everything we're doing when it comes to science and technology and all of that. We're just glad to, and look at the projects in this country. You have the circle interchange around here. Queiroz Galvão from Brazil came and saw to it. Most of the projects, you have many engineers. I know usually there's a local component, but we can't even man a lot of these ourselves. How many of these projects do you see being manned wholly, solely by Ghanaians? You always have the Chinese, the Brazilians, the Italians coming through. So the point is, we've been very impractical with our teaching. But we'll get to that point. I'd just like to find out from you, though, what is the current state of TVET in Ghana as we speak?
But quickly, let me just react to what you just said. And it's true, and that's exactly the narrative this government wants to change, and it's working on
It's the narrative this government came to meet, and it's the narrative that has persisted, and it's the narrative that I do not know when it will change.
I don't think it's persisted. You're talking about
Professor Kaufman said this not too long ago.
Okay, not too long. It's true.
And she's Dean of Engineering.
Yes, I agree with you. But that is where we have to appreciate what government has been doing. And it doesn't take a year or two to turn around. You see, educational interventions doesn't change things within a year or two.
I don't think anyone is saying that, but we've had these drives for years.
Let's look at the practicality. I think it will bring us to the state of TVET. How many learners do we have going to grammar schools? We in this country, the way our colonial masters managed us and brought us up was to make sure that we don't come to work in kaftans like this or wearing traditional clothes. We have to come to work presenting ourselves the way they present themselves. We live in a different climate. Looking at our climate region compared to London or the UK, US or Germany, is completely different. As I'm talking to you now, it's very cold in their environment. It's hot here. Now, with our system where we have more than 90% going to grammar institution, what do you expect? You can never sow a maize and reap rice. And that is the narrative government wants to take. Until 2022, the number of learners that were going to TVET institutions were way below 20,000. When 2017 government came in and decided to put in some measures, we moved from the 14,000s to 20,000 plus. As I'm talking to you, last year was 47,000. This year we're expecting something different. You're talking about practicality. For the first time, we never had foundries in this country.
Foundries.
Foundries, a machining workshop. For the first time, as I'm talking to you here now, government has just completed 2 foundries. One at KNUST and one at CSIR.
It's interesting you say that, because memory almost tells me under Nkrumah we had something of
in
the
our training
sort.
institutions.
I may have to check, but it sounds very interesting that you're making
we
that
shouldn't struggle. We shouldn't struggle to think about whether we had foundries. You see, you are more in the news. You do a lot of research. The fact that I'm in education, probably you'll be doing more research than what probably I might be doing. But you are struggling to remember whether we ever, why should you even think about Nkrumah, we having foundries? How many years now? 65 years plus. And you are thinking about Nkrumah foundries. And Nkrumah foundries cannot stand the test of time today. And I'm saying we never, for the first time, we are having foundries in our schools. And the training, which is about to start, is going to change the narrative. For the first time, all our technical universities, 8 of them, have mechanical workshops that have CNC and lathe machines that we've never had. These are modern industries. And last week, the Honorable Minister asked that I write a letter to all our technical universities and the technical institute that benefited from the $190 million project of infrastructure that has been completed and handed over, that all of them should come out with their business plan, let us know which industries they are collaborating with, and do they intend to make sure they can use it to properly teach our learners not to memorize, but to be able to memorize and also able to do stuff. We don't want a situation whereby we have an engineering student who has memorized and know how to do calculations and pour them out, be able to say yes or no. But the learner at Kintampo, who did electrical installation, and we did the national skills competition, took him to African skills competition, and was able to perform better than all the learners that met or trainers that met in South Africa, and came out second in electrical installation. This guy is now at Accra Technical University. He reached out recently. He asked for a computer, which I'm working on to make sure I get him a computer. He's electrical installer that is able to understand PLCs and the latest things of doing stuff. He hasn't gone to KNUST or he hasn't gone to engineering and Legon. But I'm telling you, this guy is smart because the training is such that he's been able to do practical things. During vacation, he's able to go and work in the industry and help people that are doing work. So the hands-on is there. So the state of our TVET now is that government is saying in 2018, what government skills study found out is working on it. One of them was the fact that the curriculum needs to be updated and it has to be competency-based. The good news is that government has invested a lot of resources into it. As I'm talking to you, almost 47 trade area curriculum has been developed that we are putting in the processes to make sure that all facilitators within our TVET institutions, including our technical universities, are able to use competency-based training. That is where the Chiu and Paul will be out. Because in the competency-based training, it's either you are competent or not competent. These machines that you are seeing are machines that, you know, by God's grace and with what His Excellency, the President, wants to achieve, he's taking us around the world to see some of the best practices. Some of these machines, you go to our technical institutes and technical university, they have 1, 2, and 3. But you go to some schools in the United States and they have, or Germany, and they have just 1. So we are blessed. So this is not something that we should come back in 10 years and say that we want government to put in more resources over another 100 million to do it. We should be able to turn around with the smart case that we have in this country.
Just an interesting question. Looking at the positioning of these institutions, where are they concentrated?
Across the country.
Across the country.
Across the country.
It's an important, there's a reason I ask that, because a lot of the time we concentrate these in the major cities and all of that. In fact, some of the very people who need this kind of training are not those that you would find concentrated or in the urban, very urban areas. That is why I'm posing that question.
Yeah, across the country, because this institution, this equipment you are seeing here is scattered across the entire country. When you go to Bolga, you see them. When you go to northern region, you see them. You go to Saboba, you see them. You go to Takrady, you see them. You go to Kukrantimi, you see them. It's scattered across the country. And one good thing government did on top of it, I believe, I want to applaud the Daily Graphic for the good. You see, we work together, and one of our best tools is to make sure we have the media able to propagate some of the news for us. David Gravit today spoke about the 9 TVET centers government is building across the country. That's about 150 million US dollars. And all the new regions, if you look at the new regional demarcations, all the new regions really did not have much TVET institutions. And as I'm talking to you, that all the 6 new regions are going to benefit from the Category A TVET Centers of Excellence. It's part of the 32 TVET government talk about working on. The first phase, all the 6 new regions, each of them is getting 1 new one. Western North is getting 1. Savannah is getting 1. Oti is getting 1. Ahafo is getting 1. Bono East is getting, so all the 6 new regions are getting 1 each. The second phase will be coming. Then in addition, there's an upgrade of the existing infrastructure which government is working on. And I think we have to do a good job by communicating to Ghanaians and for them to make decisions where they should get their awards to go to. Because the child that will go to Cape Coast Technical University, I'm not going to run down any university. The child that will go to Accra Technical University, this workshop that you saw here, Accra Technical University has one. We are hoping that we can have majority of our young ones go to Accra Technical University, Cape Coast Technical University, Tamale Technical University, Bolga Technical, and Ho Technical University. When you go to Ho, you see this same set of equipment, the mechanical workshops you see at Ho Technical University, all the 10 technical universities, you'll be able to see them. Takrady have not received this mechanical workshop. Koforidua has not received. As I'm talking to you, we are in the process of providing Koforidua and Takrady Technical.
So it is clear that at least there's been some targeting, and we have furnished these institutions with requisite tools, which is a very positive first step. But even as we do this, sometimes we like as a country to say we have allocated X amount or we have pumped this into that. Results. So far, with all the resources you say we've pumped into these ventures, not just these ones we're talking about now, the CNC equipment. Interestingly, recently we found, and something that I spoke about, while our sister African country, Egypt, is putting up a top-tier, state-of-the-art CNC facility costing about $400 million, 400 million euros actually. We're expending $400 million on a cathedral, but that's just by the by. Focusing on I don't want you. No, don't have to go there.
Anything
but looking at what we've expended so far, you don't expect immediate results. But what are the results, the little ones that we can see coming through, trickling in on the back of these investments? You shouldn't wait 10 years before you see some results.
The exciting news is that now interest in TVET is going up.
Okay.
You see,
you mentioned the numbers from about 17,000 to almost 50,000.
Outputs are completely different, and we are looking at outcomes more because we are outputs. Yes, we have put this in, but what is the outcome we are expecting? What's the impact that we are expecting? And that is what we are working on to make sure that it's government, these institutions that are going to run them. What is your business plan? Because TVET schools are basically industry schools. They are not only academic, they are also industry schools. So we want to make sure that it has an impact on our economy. Somebody at Abose Akan should be able to work to Accra Technical University and be able to collaborate with them and see how best do we get these bolts and nuts produced here. We have foundries that we have put in place. How do we link with the industry so that we can turn our fortunes within? Because we have all the resources that we need, all the metals that we need. We're talking about gold. We import a lot of finished products in gold into Ghana. Now, when you go to Pechi number 2, we have one of the newest jewelry workshop or school that is going to be implemented. How do we not only look at that output as a result, but we also look at what is the outcome of that result, and that is the next phase. And this is not going to be in a far-fetched future. It's just around the corner.
Well, that story I was making mention of, which you've also cited, I actually spoke about it earlier during the news review. Construction of 9 TVET institutions progresses. That's why I'm going to facts and figures, because the government has started the construction of the first phase of 32 modern technical and vocational education and training institutions in 9 regions. That was started last year towards modernizing the sector, with some $158 million being invested in that direction. We're talking upwards of about 1.2 billion Ghana cedis that is going into this. So obviously we ought to be probing what this is going into. It mentions that additionally, the Ghana-China project of the rehabilitation and upgrading of technical universities and technical institutes, which include construction of workshops and laboratories and the supply of installation equipment for disciplines in electrical and electronics engineering, welding technology, automotive maintenance, civil engineering. It goes on and on. What can we expect in this regard?
We're expecting that at least these 5 sectors you're talking about are improved. Learners are able to acquire the skills, not memorize them, able to perform and utilize them to come out with new products and services.
Doc, are you just saying this? I mean, no, hold on. Are you just saying this on TV, or is that the real plan? Is that the actualization? Because you've just heard, I just cited Professor Kaufman
that is why
to you, that she where she is saying our education is tailored for this.
In fact,
are we being practical?
Following up, and I'll be glad to take Prof around these technical institutions to look at and see how. We want them to collaborate. So we are not just saying, now we have the outputs. Now we're looking to the next outcomes. What is the impact? So we are not saying it. I just told you that last week, I've written to all the technical universities and the technical institutes to put out the plan as to how these workshops are going to be made use of. How are we going to maintain them? Which industry? Each one of them should tell government which industries are you collaborating. We're not going to let them sit there and let learners just pass through. These workshops are to be utilized. They are to be used. So even if you come to furnishing and maintaining government vehicles, what collaboration are these technical university and technical institutes having with the industry? Remember that for the first time, government did not just talk about sector skill bodies. He has set them up. Now we are moving on to the process whereby these sector skill bodies will be able to support government agenda in skill development. We need them to make their places of work available for what we call workplace experience learning. In the first line, government said we need to implement competency-based training. Our next phase is to make sure that all the facilitators, assessors within these institutions are given the capacity to be able to use that methodology. That means that when you go to school, it's not about, even if it's English, it's competency-based. It's not only able to memorize and write, but how are you able to use it in your daily activities? And that is what government is working on, and that is not just a talk. That is what is being implemented. I wish that you get the opportunity not only speak to us, that are the implementers and the policy makers. I would love that maybe you could have a show. We were working on something that we could have a show so that you can be going to this. So we don't only hold government accountable, but when we government get its bit done, then our stakeholders, the institutions, the learners, the workplace, people are also held accountable. That is how we work as an ecosystem. We can,
and that's a fair point you make from there. When we often talk about the things that are not available. When they are available, of course, we must make the most use of them. So that's a fair point you make. But what's the projection? Before we talk about some other hurdles that you have to surmount when it comes to TVET education in Ghana, what is the projection? I'd like to find out, lest I forget. By, say, 2024, by, say, 2026, 2028, 2030, what is the projection? Do you have any plans? Do you have any projections that as we've started on this journey, by 2024, this should be the state of our TVET institutions? We should have increased the number to X. We should have X number of our population feeding into TVET. We want to have a number of them in the automotive learning, curve, if you like, this and that. What is the plan?
The plan is simple. One, we worked through the first 5-year strategic plan. Now we are moving on to the next one. We want to first this year to make sure.
So you've completed the first 5 years,
2018 to 2020.
What has that yielded? I mean, the plan versus the achievement.
Yes, it had 5 policy objectives. Under the governance and management, we've been able to establish the Commission for TVET. We have established the Ghana TVET Service. We have established Akintina P.M. University of Skill Training and Entrepreneurial Development, Amstead. We have established 12 sector skill bodies, which is led by industry. That is under governance. Under expansion, access, we've been able to improve on and upgrade, which I think some of them you just showed. We'll be able to upgrade all the existing facilities and expanded them. All the SY and VTI institutions have been upgraded. We've added facilities to it, more classrooms, so that we can increase access. We have embarked on My TVET campaign and skills competition to change on the perception of TVET so that more people can get to understand and get to know, so that we can increase the number of people that are going to TVET. That is what led to this 47,000 we're talking about. When it comes to quality, we have made sure that not only quality involves having the infrastructure there and having the right linkage with industry, because they are the off-takers of our products, making sure that the demand side is coming from them. So development of competency-based training curriculum, starting with the occupational standard from industry for quality, have been done. We've been able to ensure that we have developed a minimum of 47 trade areas CBT curriculum to improve on the quality. We have established a law that says that you cannot run TVET institutions without getting the accreditation. Now that law has been passed. We have given people almost 2 years to come and accredit. They haven't done. This year, we are going to embark on enforcing those part of the law.
So that's the first 5 years. And this is what it has yielded.
It has yielded.
Administrative and on the practical level as well.
We looked at
over the next 5 years. What are we?
The next 5 years, what we are looking is to increase the collaboration with industry, because they will be the ones to be able to support government to be successful in TVET. So we want to increase collaboration with industry from what we have been able to achieve. We want to make sure we can license and professionalize our TVET graduates so that they can respond to the standards that industry is doing. We want to make sure digitalization is part of the TVET system, because this country is moving towards, the world is changing. Things are changing real fast, and we cannot wait another 40 years to catch up. So we have to.
How exactly is TVET going to, this drive going to harness digitization and by extension, digitalization, where we monetize digitization?
Yes, because digitalization is where the entire system, you move beyond digitization and you make sure the system has taken it and using it. For instance, if you look at our assessment in TVET, when you go to a garage in other jurisdiction, the auto mechanic doesn't do only paperwork, but most of the time to also be able to use computers and technology to be able to do diagnostics that might take you 5 days or 3 days to be able to find out. So we want to make sure these are incorporated. When you come to the same system, how do we be able to track what learners are doing? When you come to technical drawing, that's what we've been doing all these years. That we have what we call computer-aided design. How can our learners, even if it's a fashion designer, how can the fashion designer be able to use IT to improve on their designs and be able to sew and fit you without having to have it half fit, half loose approach? How would our graduates be able to link up with the other parts of the world to be able to know that their services are not only for us? We want to make sure that our buildings, construction, is smart enough that we don't have to waste much resources. Our experts, our skilled people should be able to use IT, technology, to be able to do all the simple calculations that they need. We want to make sure that at least more than 100,000 by 2024, more than 100,000 or about 100,000 Ghanaians after junior secondary school are opting for TVET. We want to make sure that
100,000.
Yeah, 100,000. Now we are 47,000.
That's ambitious. By what time? By the end of the 5 years?
By the end
of the next 5 years. Which cycle starts when? This year?
It starts this year.
This year.
This year.
So between 2023 and 2027. That's what you're saying.
We're expecting more than 100,000 learners to go to TVET. And with all the infrastructure that has been put in place, the new ones that government is building, when they are available, that means there will be more spaces for our learners.
That point has been made. I just want to find out, looking at the president's call, we are import heavy. And the president has called for import substitution from rice to everything in between. We even import toothpicks. How is TVET going to feed into that?
This is what I said earlier. You know, agriculture colleges have been realigned to the Ministry of Education. The farm institutes have been realigned to the Ministry of Education. If you look at the Skills Development Fund, one of the places that we are supporting very well is agriculture. The other, we just saw another nation talking about get what is the end. How much rice do we want to have as a country? Who are the people that can grow them? So, but we need to have people to have the
I hear
skills.
the brain behind the Nigerian rice pyramids. Their rice revolution actually is Ghanaian, and we're sitting here struggling.
That is why I'm saying Ghanaians can do it. Then government have put in the processes. Even with the farming, agriculture with TVET, fully TVET. So one of the focus is to develop curriculums, and not just develop the curriculums and put them there. Make sure consciously working with some of the institutes, those if not within the city centers, those within the farming areas, to make sure that capacity building training to our learners goes much on. In that case, we'll be able to get as many people that will have interest in agriculture. We should make agriculture attractive to the young ones. They don't, I sometimes go around. I've lived a little bit in the village. No, I would say a village, small town.
And it's interesting you make that point as you go on. Very briefly, because I want us to
small towns
dissect a few more issues. But
yeah,
if you look at even the banking system and access to loans and so many things, as we sit here, we've spoken time and again to young people in agriculture, John Dumelo, Anthony Morrison and the rest. The climate isn't exactly attractive, is it?
It's not
it's
just
very unattractive as it is now.
Do we have the off-takers? Yes. The structures that are being put in place, now government is looking at a close collaboration, which we've been working on between the Ministry of Education, Agric, and Trade. As I'm talking to you right now, with the resources that we are providing to support skill training for entrepreneurs, the Skill Development Fund, which is about 60 million, the first call for proposal, we were able to screen 600 plus, and 490 of them were able to present their full detailed proposal. We are working on to give the first phase. So that one is there. We have the youth start. We have to make these things more known to the young ones in our training institutions so that they can recognize and see the opportunities around them.
So
we are not just, yes, we are not just giving them the training, but we want to make sure we are adding the soft training that they need, the entrepreneurial training. We can never have 100% Ghanaians being entrepreneurs. The 20% to 10% will still be the entrepreneur. They'll be employing the other ones. We want to make sure we can identify them as early as possible, get them to be interested in agriculture.
So very quickly, so what model then are you going to be following? Is it like the German model where very early on they start looking at you, you show inclination, maybe you're not so much of the person who would, I mean the former German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, if you know her background, you would know that she was a science-oriented person. Look at where she ended up. So they look at you right from the start. Switzerland, they look at you right from the start. Where's your orientation? They start pushing you in that direction. So it is clear where you are headed. Is that the model we're seeking to follow?
It's a combined approach. We cannot just pick that. It's a combined approach. And the good news is that you're talking about Angela Merkel, who is the His Excellency the President worked very well with and continues to work very well with the German government. Germany and Switzerland are the countries that His Excellency took us to go and learn. As part of the next 5 years or so, we are looking at a dual training TVET, whereby our learners, if I decide to go into media, I should be able to be admitted through Joy, so that I can start. Whilst I'm here 3 days, I can spend 2 days at the workplace. If I want to go into agriculture, I'll be employed or admitted by an agri company, so that from start, I'll be going to the farm, I'll be going to the field and get to understand what rice cultivation is, if it's poultry farming, if it's maize, whatever it is, so that you can acquire the skills. You don't come out looking for jobs. So we are looking at approach. We cannot just lift what is in Germany and drop it here. We are looking at our culture, we are looking at the environment, and looking at the comprehensive approach.
Let's look at 2 or 3 more issues very quickly and wrap. Recently, the Daily Graphic carried a story about 75% of the curricula in the TVET space being outmoded, non-functional.
Was outmoded.
Was, not is.
Not is, because...
I only used the was because of the grammatical structure of what I was saying, not necessarily because, but what do you have to say in that regard? Is TVET education in terms of the curricula, are they functional? Are they what they ought to be in this world, digitalized or digitized world? What is your response to that?
So that is the news that we found in 2018 after the skill gap analysis. That's why I talked about the fact that government has invested so much money, almost 20 million, to make sure that we upgrade all the existing curriculum. And we are very grateful to the industry. In fact, this new curriculum that has been developed was developed in collaboration with industry, and it's a good news. And with the competency-based training curriculum, it's not cast in stone. Every time when the industry says that, oh, we need to upgrade it, we have to upgrade it. IT, we have to upgrade it, we have to upgrade it. Just recently, one of them that we developed that had just turned 5 years, we had to write to the institutions that those ones we have just developed, that is about to expire, use it up to this time, but we have met the industry and we are reviewing it. This time, the curriculum, the CBT curriculum, is not developed by us. The occupational standards start from the industry. It's what you are saying, the media one. I cannot sit at my office and develop the curriculum kind of dump on you. And we are working on to make sure that over the next 5 years, CBT will be fully implemented in all institutions. So our learners will not come out and just be looking at memorization. If you are saying you are a fashion technologist, you should have been able to know how to cut. You should have been able to know how to design. You should have been able to know how to sew. You don't come out as a fashion designer and you yourself, you cannot sew your own clothes. That is what government wants to do. That is the approach. He has put in all the structures in place and we are taking off.
All right. So 2 final questions to wrap. One, how do you overcome the hurdle of negative perceptions? Just as with agriculture, where the young people say, look, it's not attractive. How are you overcoming that in some 30 seconds? And finally, a very interesting question. So you have some ambassadors for TVET, right? How did you come by these people, and what went into the selection of these ambassadors? Very quickly on the 2, maybe some 30 seconds each.
What we have to do to change the perception is to communicate. Communicate what is being done. Because first you need that, because TVET is a product. You need to change the product that you are selling. Sometimes the product we sell, you think your customers won't need it, but that is not what we need. We have to go down to the people to ask what they need. And industry is telling us what they need. So government had to change the approach. Make sure that sector skill bodies are there to tell us what they want. Make sure the workshops that integrate with the industry is there and sell it.
That point is made, but tell me about what went into selecting these people.
The TVET ambassadors, we know somebody like Kwame Sefakai has been. They shown interest in our TVET ambassadorship, and they were doing Ochiame Kwame showed interest in it. Martha and Kama showed.
When you say they showed interest, how did they show interest?
Yeah, because they wanted to be part of. In fact, we're not paying them.
I was about to come to that.
We even though we want to find ways and means to support, they spending their time to go around. You know, they were going to schools to speak to junior secondary schools. Sometime, Martha, for instance.
Are you saying they're doing all of that out of their own pockets?
We are supporting them in a small way, not a big way that the industry can do.
How exactly are you supporting them?
We have to help if like have to go in terms of transportation. We have to make sure the schools are organized and all that. We would love to have a lot of ambassadors to support, because this job is not for only the government, it's for all of us, because we have the best graduates in TVET. I'm telling you, by the time you come here next time, we won't have 3 cameramen. We probably might have no cameraman. We will be able to have kids that can design this place to make sure that we are cutting down on the
human
resources. No, because we have to get jobs for everybody. You see,
right.
New technology is not going to take away jobs. It's rather going to create more jobs. It's a matter of retraining our people in the approach to be able to utilize it. Because you go to China and the rest, look at the numbers there, and they are producing more, even though they are advancing. That means that if we improve on technology and we get our people to be trained in it, we will get more employment in this country than unemployment.
We'll have to sew it up here. Maybe the question about the negative perceptions will have to go to another day. But we're grateful that you made the time to join us. Dr. Fred Che Asamoah is Director General Commission of TVET. He joined us for a conversation on TVET, and we can only wish you the very best, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. We believe that we will continuously work to change the negative perception. It's about marketing, it's about promotion, it's about putting the structures in place. And we need all hands on deck to be able to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Well.